The Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com. And now, the Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast. Welcome to Iron Game Chalk Talk with your host, Ron McKeefery.
Every time our athletes walk into this weight room, they're going to be pushed to the max.
Let's go! Everything you got!
On this podcast, hear Coach McKeefery's straight talk about training, featuring the top strength and conditioning professionals from around the world. And now, here's your host, Ron McKeefery.
Hey guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Ron McKeefery, and this is episode number 53. Iron Game Chalk Talk is a weekly podcast where I bring you experts in the field of strength and conditioning to talk shop. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, or join my mailing list at ronmckeefery.com so that way you get weekly updates on the latest guests as well as anything else that we have going on. This week, very excited to have Dan Dalrymple, the head strength coach for the New Orleans Saints, with us. I've known Dan for a long time. Him and I spent quite a few hours on a bus ride from the CSCCA to BYU's campus and back, and talked a lot of shop and been friends ever since. And he's one of the all-time good guys in the business. And he started his career at Miami, Ohio. Was a player at Miami, Ohio. Came back after playing in the NFL for a bit. And, started coaching and being a strength coach, evolved into being a strength coach, and was there for quite some time before a former coach on staff ended up getting the job with the New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton. And at that time, he brought his longtime friend with him. And they've had nothing but success in the NFL, winning the Super Bowl and countless games. So, real excited for you to see this episode. We talk a little bit about his offseason program and how he individualizes it for NFL players, the differences and the trends that he sees between college and pro, and just some general strength and conditioning, philosophical type things. And so I know you're really going to enjoy it. Before we get started, I always want to make sure we recognize our sponsors, EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com. Ignition is a performance company in Cincinnati. I got the chance to get to know Cliff Marshall and Ben Kramer and the rest of the Ignition gang in my time in Cincinnati, and they are some of the greatest guys you'll meet, doing it the right way, strong mission, and phenomenal program. They obviously they're a combine prep, and they're a multifaceted company. They have speed certification and combine prep and youth training and a supplement line and equipment as well. But they just recently had a phenomenal draft where they had several of their players taken and picked up as free agents, and so. Doing a really, really neat job. One of the things that I think that's really cool is, last year I took their speed certification. They did a phenomenal job with it. And, recently they just got back from Auburn's campus where they spent, a couple days with their staff, certifying their staff, talking shop, really helping them to define their program and their speed program. And so if you're interested in having the Ignition team come on your campus, reach out to Cliff Marshall at the Ignition APG Facebook page and, follow up on that, because a great job with the certification. Not too many speed certifications out there. And I can't recommend those guys enough. If you love our podcast, you will definitely love strength-ondemand.com. Strength on Demand is a online archive of strength and conditioning presentations that Rob Taylor and myself have put together. Really a product that we created for ourselves and just wanted to share with everybody. It's just a depository of different presentations, and it's a great way to continue to learn and challenge yourself each week. on your own time. That's just the great thing about it. Anywhere you got a Wi-Fi connection, you can access the videos, and I watch them and listen to them while I'm working out, on bus rides, on in the plane, and the whole deal. So I think it's a great way for you to continually sharpen the sword. All right, want to get to Dan. Know you're going to really take a lot of notes with this one. Make sure you sit back and enjoy. We'll talk to you on the other side. All right, guys, real excited to have Dan Dalrymple, the head strength coach of New Orleans Saints, with us. Dan's a good buddy of mine. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Great. It's great to have me here. I'm happy to talk to you today.
Hey, Dan, for this Reader's Digest version, because you're out there and everybody knows who you are, but give us a little bit of the background on how you got into the field and how you got to your current role there with the New Orleans Saints.
Well, basically, if you go back in time, as an athlete, I wasn't privileged enough to have a strength coach of my own in college. I went to school at and played football at Miami University in Ohio. And we didn't have a strength coach there, and all throughout high school, obviously, we had a gym teacher who would open up the weight room, but we kind of were on our own. So I started as a young kid working out and kind of self-taught, and went on to when I went to college. I really wanted to be a strength coach, but I didn't know that the actual position existed, and so I thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer. And I found out right away you can't tape your own ankles, so I kind of switched into it worked out okay. It was physical education was the base academic program that you're in for either one, so I was a physical education major and minored in coaching. And when I finished up my career, I had a brief cup of coffee with the Seattle Seahawks and came back and needed to finish my degree, and they had at Miami University's Cradle Coaches, they had a Cradle Coaches scholarship for postgraduate or post eligibility to finish up graduate, to be able to graduate, get your undergrad. I needed a semester left, and I was on scholarship to do that, and kind of worked in the football program as a student assistant. And because I'd always been a big lifter, basically they said, hey, you like to lift weights, you can go check out the weight room. So I started out there and went through the ranks of the GA there, and was offensive line coach. Was hired after 1 year of being a GA. Was offensive line coach and strength coach for football, and then our staff was let go. Randy Walker came in, and he wanted a full-time strength coach, and I interviewed for both the O-line and the strength coach job, and it was the first time I knew anything about such thing as a full-time strength coach, and he offered it to me, and that was December of 1989. And for football, strength coach, I was departmental, because at that time NCAA rules were pretty, were set up that you could be a strength coach, you had to be departmental. And I remember the athletic director at the time saying, we're making you departmental, but I want you to be, football only, and whatever. So I want you to write up a workout or something, but don't worry about anything else. And then 5 minutes after that, we walked into a staff meeting, and I was introduced to the strength coach. And, he encouraged every single team to make sure they used my expertise. And so went on and moved on and took over all sports. And I was there basically until February of 2006. The only thing changed was my title. Back and forth, I finished up as an assistant AD. And during our time on staff at Miami, we had a young quarterback coach in 1994 that came in, and we hit it off pretty well and coached together for 2 years and maintained a relationship as he moved on. And his name was Sean Payton, and so we could sit around and talk. And he always said that if he ever got a head job, I was going to be a strength coach. And Aaron Cromer, who was on our staff at one point, was our tight end coach at that time at Miami, and now the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, was one of the guys said, "You're gonna be my tight end, your O-line coach at the time," and so we all got together, and periodically over the years he would call me when he thought he was in on a job and say, "Hey, I'm putting the band back together again." And in January of 2006, he said he was interviewing with the Saints, and it turned out he got it, and been here since. So.
Didn't work out too bad, did it?
Worked out well. Make friends with quarterback coaches when you're O-line guys, and you know, it's easy as an actual O-lineman to be friends with the quarterback, but
no doubt.
it worked out career-wise for me pretty well. So.
No, that's awesome. Well, you know, a couple things in that really kind of stand out is, you know, obviously even though you played there and you were an alumni and all those types of things, but you went through some coaching changes. How, you know, what were some of the, you know, talk a little bit about how did you stay in one place for 16 years? I mean, that's not common anymore in strength and conditioning field.
No. Well, I think, you know, one thing, just from going from staff to staff, I think the important thing for strength coaches, and I think sometimes we forget this, they're not really our athletes. We're borrowing them. And we work for our head coaches, and we work with our head coaches. And I think sometimes, it's like anything else, your ego can be your enemy. And so I learned that not only did I work for several different football head coaches, I worked for multiple athletic directors, I worked for multiple basketball coaches and women's basketball coaches and tennis and track and field and all the different sports there. And you adjust and you have to figure out, you know, whatever sport you're dealing with, what does this coach want from this position? And what are the core beliefs that they have? And when you understand what they want and you understand how they're going to treat their team, what they're going to ask of their team, then you can build trust with them, and then I think you go into the point of making suggestions of things that you think maybe should be a little bit different or there. But that, I think too many times when a new coach comes in and a strength coach is a holdover, they make the mistake of, well, that's how we run the program, that's how I do it. Well, you know, half the time when a new coach comes in, it's because the old coach was let go.
That's right.
Or the head coach left, you know, so there's some negative to that. You know, and so there's a little bit of a, you know, especially when it's a case of where the program wasn't winning. Now, when I was at Miami, you know, most of our programs won. So when people left, it was usually because they're going on to a promotion. But, you know, and it was a unique thing because it wasn't, with all my time in Miami, I had multiple opportunities to leave, but it just wasn't the right opportunity because that's the other thing. I think in this day and age, people become so obsessed with career advancement,
right,
that they forget to think about, am I happy in the job that I'm at? You know, and my thing is, when I'm coaching the NFL, whether I'm coaching anywhere, you know, one, obviously you got to make enough money to be able to support your family because that's your primary focus. Should be for any coach. Take care of your family, make sure that your family comes first. And then after that, am I happy? Is my quality of life high? You know, because no amount of money can make up for being miserable.
That's right.
And you should not go into. I always tell when I was coaching in college and coaching at this level too. We have fewer people now at this level that make me want to go into coaching, but I had a lot of kids that wanted to go into coaching when I was coaching in Miami. And I always tell them, well, you know, if you can envision yourself doing anything else, then you should go do it.
That's right.
But if you can't think of anything else you could even be happy doing, then welcome to the club. And it's going to be hard, and there's going to be challenge involved with it. But there's so many positive things with just, you know, like for a strength coach. I mean, the best part about leaving Miami and coming to the NFL is I got to get away from being an assistant AD. Because I figured out that my favorite part of the day was when I could put my T-shirt on, my shorts on, and my whistle, and go and work out with the guys or the girls at college, and then obviously the guys here. That was my favorite part of the thing, and then my least favorite part was when I put my tie on and worry about schedules and facilities and all that kind of stuff. So
that's right.
Quality of life is huge, and you got to be happy where you're at, and a good situation. And Oxford, Ohio is a very wonderful place to live, and so it's very dear to my heart. And I'm lucky here in New Orleans. We've got a great organization, got a great support here from our owner, and our city is. I think our fans can don't take a back seat to anybody in terms of love of football and the love of the Saints here. So it's a very special place as well. No,
that's great, man. Well, I think there's a lot of good takeaways in that, and I always talk to coaches. I make our staff read the book, Make Big Time Where You're At by Frosty Westerling, and that's that you can't be so blindsided by ambition that
that you forget to do the job at which you're at and to do it well and make it a better situation than what you found it. And that's a lot of times that's the that's the hard part to do. It's easy preaching, tough living, but the reality is that you'll be that much better of a coach for it down the road.
Yeah, I think young coaches always ask me, a lot of guys are, hey, I want to get in the NFL, I want to get in the NFL. And there's don't get me wrong, there's some great things about the NFL.
No doubt.
But I'll tell you what, the relationships I built, if you have an opportunity to coach in college, coach in high school, and the relationships that you can build with young guys, because at that age group, you're really making men.
That's right.
You're a role model as a strength coach. You're a molder of character, and you're doing lessons to young guys and turning them in and part of that educational process, and they go on from there, and it's really it's really special to look and see what guys go on and attain after they're done playing. And in the NFL, obviously you're dealing with grown men, so their character's already been molded for the most part.
Sure.
And it's a business, so you got guys in and out, in and out, in and out all the time. So it's a little bit different there. And so I would hesitate, to be overwhelmed with the idea of trying to get out of whether I be coaching high school or coaching college, because you're really doing a great service at that level. So
absolutely.
There's a lot of rewards to it.
I agree with you 100%. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about programming here. I mean, you're entering probably the most important part of your year. Well, I guess winning during the season is the most important part of the year, but with the CBA, you're limited now in the amount of weeks that you can train these guys, and you have them for just a small amount of time. Talk a little.
We get 2 weeks to get them all ready to go.
Yeah, that's right.
To start football. So. If we need all 2 weeks, we can have a whole 2 weeks if we need it. 8 days. We get 8 workouts to get done. And whether you need them all those workouts or not, get prepared. But
so obviously with that, the challenge becomes, how do you structure that phase? How do you structure this phase? And then you're talking, you got another couple weeks of football and lifting before they go on break a little bit. And so what does your training regiment look like between how many days a week lifting, how many days a week running? What's the periodization model kind of structure?
Basically, what we're doing is we have a unique situation here. We have a lot of, not unique probably the NFL, but there's a lot of players who not live here in the off season, so they're coming in on either Monday morning or Sunday night for a Monday workout. We train 4 days a week. The majority of our guys, because of that, are going Monday through Thursday straight through. I prefer a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday type split, or some type of off days in the middle of the training to separate those days a little bit more. But we're going straight through, so we have to take that in mind as well. Obviously, if I'm going to go heavy on Monday and turn around on Wednesday and do a similar workout, it's not as much time as if I had a Monday to Thursday type break or Tuesday to Friday type break. So we load through, and basically the way it looks like right now is our Mondays and Wednesdays are primarily upper body days. We are doing some other thing I find out through trial and error. I used to do my speed and agility on my upper body days, and that'd be Monday and Wednesday with our upper body. We do speed and agility, then we do our upper body training. And what I found out was a lot of the times you don't know what these guys are going through when they're traveling back and forth and where they're going. I mean, Reggie Bush went to Spain one weekend that we had off in the middle of the off-season program. So it's like, you got guys going all over the place. They're flying here and there. They might be doing whatever. And so they come back in on a Monday, and you're going to do some high-speed stuff, and you might be dehydrated, whatever. So we kind of turned Monday now into more of a conditioning day, so it's not real explosive. So we'll come in, warm up, do an upper body type lift, and then do some type of competitive conditioning drills. And I'll go into that a little bit more in a little bit. Then on Tuesdays and Thursdays are our lower body days, and we're doing our speed and agility work. We come in, warm up through speed and agility work first, then come in, and the first day of the week is kind of our power clean explosiveness day. Not to say we don't do power cleans both lower body days. We do power cleans there, and we do some type of squatting motion, basically our lower body posterior chain stuff as well. So our Tuesday is more of a posterior chain Olympic kind of day with a little bit of squat. And our Thursdays are heavy squat day with a little bit less of posterior chain work. And the same thing with the upper body. We have a heavy pull day and a heavy push day. We don't do, with my players, one thing I know they're going to do if they get a chance is bench press. So we don't do a lot of straight bar bench press with them. I use dumbbells. I like to do weighted push-up. We use our Pitch Shark machine quite a bit for that.
That's great.
And so I think it's even better than laying down with the bar call. And see some of these guys across the league get pec tears in the off season, things like that. For the wear and tear on the shoulders, and we get guys that have hard time lifting their arm above their head, let alone loading up a heavy bar. So we do that kind of stuff, and so we get some kind of conditioning. So some of the stuff we've gone to, it's kind of interesting because last year Sean came back from his little hiatus, and he had been doing CrossFit the entire time, and he was off, and so he came in with a renewed understanding of the weight room and understanding squat. He did not, basically, he spent, if you want a head coach to really support you, he should spend a year away from football where all he does is CrossFit, and the only person he can talk to is Bill Parcells. With football. Because Coach Parcells is a big squat and clean guy. And so when Sean came back, he wanted to make sure we're power cleaning and we're squatting, and that was the most important thing, and he'd done his CrossFit, so he'd done it himself so he can do something. Well, I'm not a... So the impression that people get from outside is, well, we're doing CrossFit. Well, we're not doing CrossFit. CrossFit's a great sport. I love watching it, but it's a fitness program. It's separate from what we do. Now we get some ideas of some different things, of some of the things that they put together.
Absolutely.
We don't do high rep Olympic lifts. We don't do high repetition gymnastic type stuff that they do. But the idea of competition, the idea of being supportive. The idea of doing resisted high-intensity interval-type training is one of the things that we do. So we'll throw some sled work in. We'll throw some heavy battle rope type stuff, and medicine ball training, and concept do rowers, which is something I used to do a bunch of when I was first coaching, and then they kind of forgot about them, and now they come back and you think about it. It's a bunch of pulling, and it's great for our guys because they spend so much time pushing, so much time in extension that we can get a great triple extension, unloaded, really, not a lot of pounding on their knees and ankles, and get some conditioning. So we'll put together some of these circuits, and we'll pick teams, and we'll go through and push them through, and they'll get the conditioning that way. And it's great because if I take guys out and I run them, we do 16 110s or some of the traditional stuff that you might see, casters, whatever. Guys understand how to pace themselves on that. And so they're never giving you 100%. Well, you put a competitive drill together with a bunch of stuff that they really don't know what they're doing. They have no what their pace is, and they get done. They're like, Coach, that was ridiculous. What are we doing? You're killing me. But they realize they worked hard. And when we started doing that again, it's something I've done with hockey and some of the other sports, and we've done circuits before in the past for conditioning, and I started doing with the football players again last year. Just as a change-up, and we felt like we went into OTAs, and guys were used to, for a lineman can run all day and not get ready to be a lineman because it's basically got to push people around. So, you're pushing this weight, you're working against some weight, and, you get your heart rate up there, and it gets some of our guys who have weight concerns and things like that, helps them, change their body composition. So, we'll throw a couple days of that. Not to say there's some days we do some running. We do a lot of agility work, and we do our agility work in a way that we try to keep their tempo up. Everything we do in a weight room is timed, and we want to make sure we're moving through. We get we set up and we say, hey, we're doing power cleans. Well, we're going to do one set every 2 minutes or one set every 3 minutes or whatever it is, depending on the load, and we make our guys work through. There's no standing around or sitting around. We want them. We'll do some pairing, a couple of some things like that, or supersets, however you want to call it, but try to keep them busy and get them in and out. And same thing carries over to end season. We try to kind of train very similar end season. We go, the only difference is our heavy leg day off season is our Thursday, our last day of training, or our Friday, our last day of training week, and our heavy leg day is Monday after the game.
Yeah.
Season. So,
That makes sense. Well, you kind of answered my next question, but I've heard you say it a couple times. But when you condition, your goal with conditioning isn't so much to get them ready for the game as it is to get them ready for the practice, to get them ready for the game. Obviously you're doing that through strength training and making your strength training a conditioning component as well as what you're doing on the field. But is there ways that you're especially with the CBA and the guys coming in all different kind of conditioning levels, all different ages, different injuries and things along those lines. How are you making things individual to those guys? Because that's obviously it's a clientele that's very independent. Let's just say.
Yeah. What we do is we set up our workouts and we have basic categories. We set things up. You look at your traditional speed guys, your power guys, and your big guys, and then like your specialists. And so you have basic workouts there. And then we break it down to, I think it's different for me now with NFL guys versus, we got Champ Bailey on our team right now. He's going on year 16
Jeez.
In the NFL. It's a long time, So, you have to adjust things because there's, these guys have a litany of injuries that come in. They've had a whole lifetime to develop compensation patterns and develop injuries and develop all these things early on in their career that we're paying for now. And so
that's right.
We have to look at the training program and then figure out how we're going to balance their bodies back out. And so for some guys, there's some exercises we need to change up. They just can't do it. Certain guys that you can't do anything overhead, because of their history of shoulder issues, and so we have to find a different way to train their shoulders. And certain guys that may have kind of a pitch count in terms of how much running they're going to do, how much impact they're going to have for lower body things with knees and ankles and feet and stuff like that. So we have to have a litany. I used to joke about, the 1980s, the classic 1980s movies, Fast Time at Ridgemont High. There's a character, Spicoli, and Spicoli's in this car accident with Jefferson's another character, his little brother. They're driving his car. This guy's like this, superstar football player. He's got a car, and so he wrecks the car, and they're all upset. And they're like, Spicoli's like, hey, don't worry about it. My dad's like a TV repairman. He's got an awesome set of tools. I want to have an awesome set of tools, so I need to have as many different exercises and as many different techniques as I can do and plug things in and just plug and play and just move things around and, okay, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And I think the players respond to that, but you also have a good understanding to make sure that, hey, I don't want this guy to look like he's in a rehab mode and he's getting this specialized workout. And, there's some things that this guy's, you have these limitations, but we're going to change things up and it's going to be every bit as hard, if not harder, than what the main base workout is. And so we do that and getting on the idea of training for practice. I'm a firm believer that we should practice hard enough that it precludes conditioning. If you're getting enough reps in and you're working at a high enough tempo and intensity, you really shouldn't have time to run a bunch of gassers afterwards. If you are, it's just wasting time. So you need to be practicing like that. So to be able to practice like that, you need to come in with a certain degree of fitness, because if you're just practicing tired and you're practicing, dog tired especially, you're just running reps, you're just running plays, and you're not getting any better. So
that's right.
We want to set things up. We want to look at what's the tempo what's our teaching tempo. I watched Joel Pitt run our he was like a 30-some year veteran. He had a coaching in the NFL, and watch him run our linebackers through their individual period. And man, you better be in shape to play linebacker for us, because Joe Pitt's going to break you off. So
that's right.
So we watch that. We make sure, I get the opportunity to watch practice all the time. I see, how our wide receivers are running, what types of drills they're going to do, and so what kind of, what's their rest time really? Like you watch offensive linemen. Well, it's not like in college we might have had 20 offensive linemen, or here you have 8, 9, 10 guys, and so if one guy's going, the next guy's holding the bags for him, an individual, and then when they get in, the starters are running, and then there's going to be, a few guys are doing look squad for the defense, and so, they're not getting a lot of rest, and so we have to make our conditioning program prepare them for these high-intensity bursts, but not, because that's another thing, people think about NFL players and say, well, practically they never wear pads. Yeah, but the NFL players can get as much done with pads on as college guys can do with full pads.
That's right.
So like, they can go full go. It's day out. It's the most amazing thing. It was a big challenge. I think for me, when I came in, I was like, holy cow, look how fast these guys are moving. And they never fall down, you know. So, and they just learn to practice at such an intensity. And so that's hard. And it's hard to practice at good intensity and have that kind of body control. You know, it's one thing to slop around, but it's another thing to go full go and for first 3 steps of full go and kind of hang out there and work with the other guy. And I'm working my technique, you're working your technique. And so there's a certain degree of conditioning they need. So we had that pretty hard. And you know, I think games take care of themselves because, you know, we got TV timeouts, all kinds of craziness going on. So they got a lot of downtime during the game.
Yeah. No, you hit on a really important thing, you know, with the body control. You know, that's obviously a big deficiency that I saw from college to the NFL. What are some maybe other deficiencies you see that college strength coaches can work to address in their own programs of players that go to the NFL, they're not prepared for what?
I think, well, I would not put this on college strength coaches. I put it on the players themselves. So many of these guys, unfortunately, leave their college team. They leave their college strength coach, the guy that built them for 4 or 5 years, and got them, you know, from that little pup to the big dog that they are going to the NFL. And they leave and they go off and they train in other places. And, you know, not to say there's not some really good sports performance guys doing stuff all over the place, but it's just a different deal. They're getting ready for the combine, so they're practicing running 40s and they're practicing doing their pro shuttle and you know, all that stuff. And then they go on their workout deal, and then they got, you know, then they do their little tour of teams, and they're fattened up, and then they get drafted, and next week they're in a mini camp,
right?
And they're out of shape because they've done no conditioning. Because no one cares, you know. You don't have to be in great shape to run a 40-yard dash, so you just have to be fast. And so the conditioning level falls off, and so that's one area that I think is important. I think the mistake that probably happens that I see is, you know, it's like anything else. The guys that we get are the elite, and so they were the elite in their college program. And, you know, I always love that strength coaches always love that overachiever guy because he's the best guy. He's got great technique. He works. He does everything right. He's good. And then you get these overachiever guys, and they've been hiding in the weight room for a while.
Right.
So, you know, it's like if we can get across to these guys that, you know, they may think they're getting out of something when they're trying to hide in the weight room in college, but eventually they're going to have to compete. They're not going to be the big dogs anymore. And so that's something. And then the other thing that I really have over the years learned more about is understanding the balance of the body and understanding that, you know, everything we do in football specifically is, like I said, we're pushing. And we worry so much about specificity as strength coaches. I think we've gone overboard. And so we're like, well, let's do everything that, you know, build all those muscles that you're going to use in the game. And no one builds the muscles that you are going to oppose. You know, the old agonist-antagonist idea is like thrown out the window because we're just making something so specialized. If I'm pushing all the time, well, I better be doing a ton of pulling during the off season, or I'm going to get out of balance. I'm going to have overuse type injuries. I'm going to have, my body's going to shut down because when it gets too far out of balance, body's natural reaction, like you're going to hurt yourself, stop it.
Right.
So if you want to be strong and powerful, I tell guys, you know, if you want to, how can I improve my bench press? Well, we'll get good at rowing and doing chin-ups. And then your shoulders will be strengthened enough that you're going to be able to be a good bench presser. And if I want to be, you know, if I want to stop pulling hamstrings, I better strengthen my hamstrings. And I better, you know, most guys have tight quads, long hamstrings, and hamstrings are long and weak, and the quads are short and strong. So, you know, lay out the leg press and do some hamstring hip extension as well as flexion exercises.
Yep.
And try to straighten that up. Set your pelvis. You know, work on, you know, doing some work for, you know, the hip joint. In my mind, is similar to the shoulder joint, and that, you know, rotation is really important there. And so we work the hips. We work a lot of strengthening of internal rotation, opposite of the shoulder, where you work an external rotation. And just think it makes sense. So we do some work there, and so look at that body and try to keep balanced out and don't be worried about being so specific because that stuff will take care of itself.
Absolutely, that's great. You mentioned earlier, the relationships that you formed in college, and that's so much of the strength coach game, isn't it? Having the communication skills and the relationship skills to get players to do a lot of times what they don't want to do. Especially in your current role with New Orleans, there where you're dealing, you're a big guy. How do you interact with that, that 5'8", 4'3" guy? And coach him on speed. How are you getting to develop such a great relationship with these guys and get them to do things that you need them to do that sometimes they don't want to do?
The first thing that I think you have to do in any coaching, I had a great mentor in Randy Walker. Unfortunately, we lost him before his time. He's far too young, but he was a great coach of coaches. And Randy used to always say this, that coaches become coaches because they're hero worshipers, and they look up to their players, and I think that's absolutely true. And if you're coaching and your most important focus as a coach isn't the well-being of your players, and you're not always thinking about them like a parent would think about their child and wanting them to have the best, that's a mistake. And so if you really have that feeling for your players, that love for your players, and you want them to do well regardless of whether they're a college free agent, last guy we signed after a rookie minicamp, or first round draft choice. You want as a strength coach, the best part about our job is we don't make decisions about who gets cut or who makes the team. And so, I can equally be a cheerleader for all of our players. And so, if our players understand that, hey, I want the best for you, and I care about you as a man and as a person and as a human being. Compared to not just as a player, not just a number, then they're going to trust you. And then if you tell them, if they trust you and they know that you care about them, and then you're going to coach them and say, hey, I think this is going to help you. The thing in the NFL is these guys want information, and they want something that's going to make them better. And if they think that you have information that can help them, they're going to listen to you. And I think if you have the right information, you stay current in your field, and you understand, you don't say, we do this just because we've always done it. We do this for this reason, and I firmly believe in it. And my most important thing is to help you be the best player you can be. They're going to trust you, and it's going to build that kind of relationship. It's got to be a relationship of trust. And I think also, again, going back to putting your ego aside, you got to be willing to listen to the player. And, he's going to tell you, hey, I know that there's some things, this is what I really like. I had a player, Jonathan Bilma, who I love, who was a great player, and he's not with us anymore, and I miss him. But, Jonathan would come in, and we'd sit down, and, he'd tell me the different things that, there's certain days he wanted to squat, there's certain days he wasn't parking and stuff, and he was basically doing all stuff I wanted to do, but he felt like he needed to have a little say in when he was doing it. And, it's the difference between doing 5 reps or 6 reps. Well, he liked 5, so we always did 5, whatever it is. And so he took a little bit of ownership in his program, and I treat it the same way. Whether it's Drew Brees, all these guys like that, guys that have kind of shown their mettle to me, I'm going to tell them, hey, I'm going to work with you. Okay, you like this a little bit? Let's throw a little bit in your program. We'll give you this option here. We'll give you that option right there. They can come in. I want them to have an open door where they feel like they can come in and tell me what's going on, what they like, what they don't like. And there's sometimes I'll say, hey, I know you don't like it. I know it's, it's hard work. That's why you don't like it.
That's right.
So we're going to do it. But, it's not a case of where, hey, I'm the head strength coach, you're going to do exactly what I do in my program. It's going to be this way or the highway. Especially with grown men in the NFL, that's not going to go over very well.
Right.
Because they can buy and sell you with, they're going to get an off-season signing bonus or off-season workout bonus that's going to be more than your salary. So,
that's right.
Got that. But I think the same thing in college. The kids, when you got kids, I've always learned more from my players than they've learned from me, probably.
We all have, yeah.
Seeing how they do things, So I think you build that kind of open relationship with them, and it just comes down to, hey, I love you and I trust you, and I'm not afraid to tell guys, how I feel about them and that. And
that's great.
The tough thing, this was a tough off season for me because we had some guys who've been with us for a long 8 years. I had guys in college for 4 or 5 years if I was lucky, and here we've had some guys who were together for 8 years. We were a lot of things, we won a Super Bowl, all these different things like that, and the people up top decided it's time for them to move on, and that's a loss. And so, but you build these things, and you walk together, and you walk together forever. So
right,
it's ideal.
Well, I always tell players that, to hold me accountable about caring about them more as a person than I do as a player, and I'm going to hold them accountable to reaching their goals, and I think when you do that and you approach it with that mindset, then they'll see that you're genuine in that, and they'll rally behind you. But well, hey, Coach, I know you're real busy. You got a group coming up here, but we always end these things with some resources. Give us, maybe the latest book that you read, or a book that you recommend young strength coaches read, and maybe a website or an app or something that you check out on a regular basis.
Well, I'm all over the internet. In my job here, I don't get to go to clinics as much as possible, but I try to get out there, and I try to read anything. This has gone back to my old hockey days when I first started hockey, but I try to read anything Mike Boyle makes or puts out there. I can't get enough of it, and I know he just put out a new series of DVDs that I gotta get a hold of, which I will at some point. And I get that stuff. Anything he does, I really listen to him. I think there's a number of good websites you get out there. I get this sounds crazy, but I get a lot of good ideas from T Nation, testosterone.net or whatever. There's some crazy workouts they come up with, and obviously more bodybuilding oriented. But you get some ideas from that, and I see them. There's always new exercises you can learn, and you will twist on hand placement, this little deal here, change the exercise out. So I always check that out. I look at. Even so, I said we don't do CrossFit, but I'll look at the CrossFit things, and mainly just to see some of the crazy stuff. Some of these how far a human being can push themselves in the weight room is unbelievable. Just these freak things that you do there, and so that's I wish, like talking about CrossFit, I wish when I was training female athletes in college, early in my career before it was as prevalent with heavy training and things, that we would consider some of these girls as role models, because some of these girls are like, I'm sitting there training, I'll get too bulky, and
exactly.
I won't look good. Look at some of these CrossFit girls, and so that's a great motivation for our female athletes. But that's important, and if anybody wants to take a look at Athlete's Body Puzzle, the book that I was co-author of, we got some ideas. That's more mainly for training young kids, but there's ideas on Dr. Joe Lacaze, who's my former Navy SEAL and pretty intelligent guy, invented the Rotex, which is a machine that we use for a lot of our internal external rotation stuff that we've talked about. You can get it through his website, and he's got some good ideas on avoiding kind of breaking compensation patterns and balancing the body out. So
that's awesome. I'll make sure to link that up in the show notes as well. But Coach, you've always been a great friend of me and a mentor and a role model, and I appreciate all you do for the field and how easily accessible you are to answering questions and things along those lines. I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Hey, it's great to have. It was great talking to you.
That's it for this episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk. Thanks to this week's guest, as well as our sponsors, EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com, for bringing this episode to you for free. Make sure to check out RonMcKeefery.com, where you can join our mailing list, find the show notes, including all the links and resources mentioned, and information about Coach McKeefery's other products. While you are there, please join Coach McKeefery in the comments section thanking our guest for sharing. If you haven't subscribed to Iron Game Chalk Talk on YouTube or iTunes yet, make sure to do so. Comments, ratings, and reviews are always welcome. Coach McKeefery can be found on Twitter at @RMcKeefery, on Facebook and YouTube at /Ron.McKeefery. That's it for this week. Be sure to check back next week for another great episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk.